So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be, and welcome to another scene for the living world of darkness, rage across New York. Where 10 Point is in a state. It is not a good state. It is a state one might suspect her to be in after finding out about the mortal wounding of one of her own kinfolk. And something of an adoptive mother, even, and having to be with her in her last breaths and then clean her body and set it to rights for, well, proper burial, as it were. So yeah, all things considered, 10 Point has gone a gamut of emotions. She's carried the body down, possessively hovered over it, gone and flipped a number of tables and probably done worse things, very carefully away from the body. Come back, cleansed it, and has finally probably just end up hunkered down in a corner of that room in Belvedere that is used for these particular purposes. It's just curled up there in Hamid, of course, because, well, these are delicate matters and require human hands. So yeah, she's just nested down in a corner, firmly scrunched up against the wall, and crying her eyes out because she doesn't know what else to do with herself.
Eventually, 10 Point will feel the soft hand run through her hair very gently. That is a familiar touch of her alpha.
Considering I imagine there's also some emotional overtone that just kind of wafts through the link and whatnot. She won't startle unduly. She'll just lean her head into it.
How long have you been here?
Since I finished.
Anyone give you any hassle?
No.
All right.
Oh, I was in breathe when I brought her down. There may or may not be, like, trays and tables and whatnot that have been blatantly flipped over and just left where she'd pitched the various contents. But there is still just the one table, immaculately untouched, the sheet pulled over the body.
Come on. Elena's waiting outside. She's worried about you. We're gonna go out for a few minutes and have a chat with her. Okay?
I'll just make her sad.
Now that is incredibly difficult. Plus, she's worried about you.
And she snuffles in a. It's not an attractive thing, but she picks up an arm and scrubs it across her face. And it's something of a cursory effort to clear her cheeks. Finally
He'll,
picks her head up a bit.
he'll reach over and help smooth some of her tears out of her cheeks. Come on up. Come on. He'll open his arms.
That'll do it. Yeah, she goes ahead and finally climbs up. If only to get up into his arm.
Come on, up you get. He'll heft her up and let her snuggle into him as he walks out in Belvedere Castle, out towards the one of the back bars that is more private, so nobody is blatantly seeing it, where Helen is probably sitting there awkwardly waiting.
Oh, so you would think. No, she is. No, she's sat actually cross-legged on the table because fuck table manners at this point. Her bag is open in front of her. Just for reference, she's still got much of the paint still all over her, paint smeared across her face, bits of blood and other bits of dirt and such. Her hair is kind of scraggly and it looks like it's been dragged through a bush backwards and kind of stuck up on an end and such. And she sees the two of you come in, the kind of hunched expression. She's doing something, like fiddling with something behind the bag. You can't really see it from where you stood, but she kind of perks up instantly. And just that bright smile just fills her face.
Yeah, 10 Point stumbles in, kind of nested into Aiden's arms. Head still down. She is likewise still covered in blood. But for, her elbows down, she's clearly washed up, and she must have wiped her face a lot. Because, well, at least the blood's gone. There's still clinging bits of WOD, but everything else is just a mess. Her hair is still doused in blood. She clearly hasn't bothered to do anything about herself. And she actually doesn't properly look up per se. She seems almost embarrassed to be dragged out. It's still rubbing at her face.
Yeah, she doesn't say anything. She just sits there waiting.
After a perfectly awkward pause, unless Aiden wants to say something.
I just sets her down very lightly on down, so basically 10 Point can still snuggle up beside him, but is directly beside Helena.
And she's fine with that. She doesn't avoid Helena at all. She just, yeah, as long as it's close enough that she can nest up under Aiden's arm and obviously just leech comfort, she's fine. She'll finally turn to glance aside. Are you doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Pretty good.
Good.
She just smiles back. Are you?
And there's a brief pause. She tries to find a good way to answer, and her face just finally falls, and tears just start leaking out of her eyes again. She shakes her head, drops it. No. And she cracks even on the one word.
Hey.
And picks up her hands and almost immediately is just covering her face again.
It's all right. It's okay not to be okay. Nothing wrong with that. She just kind of smiles to Aiden. There's 10 Points covering her face.
He just twists her hair and just gently leans down, very fatherly, very comforting. Just lets her just nestle in. He's quite relaxed. There is some marked 10 Point confusion to the link. There is that marked anger there of what happened, but he seems to be almost trying to fight through it just for her sake.
Oh, he can still feel that there's a buzz of fury in there somewhere, but it's not manifesting in any meaningful way. She's come down off of that high for the most part. And yeah, she'll eventually kind of get herself, with some hiccuping, calmed back down again. It takes her a good couple minutes. She finally starts rubbing again at her face, at her eyes, trying to clear her cheeks. Finally gives her head a light shake. Nothing's all right.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
whole family's gone. She was the last one. She trusted me.
It wasn't just you she trusted, 10 Point.
Oh. No, not just me.
She trusted all of us.
There's a sense of apology almost immediately that floods through. She actually kind of tightens her grip on his shirt a bit.
You just stroke her hair. We all gave her something to believe in. Right down to Leon. You don't need to apologize for that.
No.
I don't know what to do.
You bury. You honor them. And you live with the memory and you move on. Doesn't mean that it's any less, that the person is any less, but it's what we have to do.
I don't know how.
Day by day.
One step at a time.
You start by, you'll intertwine 10 Point's fingers with his. Yeah, start by, right now what's going to happen is you're in shock about what's happened. Can't believe that it's real. And that's the first stage. Then you'll be angry. And that's perfectly fine. And a part of you then will accept what happened.
She tightens, she readily accepts the wreathing of fingers as a form of support. And she does periodically glance over to Helena. She's not trying to exclude her by any means. Just seems at a loss. And Aiden is her one proven point of comfort. Until now, anyways. How can I even go home?
We won't go home tonight. We're going to stay at the Bronx apartment, okay? And when we go home, we're going to go home together.
And she's honestly, for the most part, quiet aside from, I say quiet. There's a lot of snuffling. There's a lot of her obviously at points holding her breath even to keep from suffering another crack. I don't know how you do it. And her fingers tighten a bit again in Aiden's just because she truly can't fathom how he's managed it so many times over. Even the times that she was there, not experiencing it firsthand now. Though she finally kind of laxes up against his side. Just a bit. Turning to glance over to Helena, maybe just to see what she's doing with her hands just because it's a distraction from her current line of thought.
You actually can't see her hands. She's sat cross-legged on the table with her bag in front of her. Her hands are like doing something behind the bag. You can't, like, you can lean to see around it, but
I don't know that she'll put that much effort in, but she'll kind of look inquisitively.
she's just smiling, nodding along with what's being said. And she'll kind of turn and look up to do as they've gone a bit silent. Hmm.
What are you making?
Nothing. You might be able to find out in a bit. But first, I want to know, how do you like feeling properly? Best way you can describe it. Simple as complex words, whichever is easier.
And she mulls over it. She's still, eyes full of tears. Terrible. Sad. Empty. Just hurts.
Yeah. And I can't say I understand that, because I don't. Not like this. It's not a nice situation to be in. That I do understand.
Thought I would. Gives Aiden's hand another idle squeeze.
I smiled, looking down at her very softly. What we can do for her is we can get vengeance on those who wronged her and took her life.
Oh, they'll die.
I know they will.
And they'll die slower than she did.
If we get their hands on them, yes.
Whatever you need to do. But don't let them make you forget why.
Why what?
Why you feel like this? There's always a balance. Always. I asked you, if you feel alright. You said no.
Her hand kind of grazes across her face again. She kind of agrees, giving her head a shake.
I asked you to describe, in the easiest, almost complex way, how you're feeling right now. The word you used was terrible. The one that stuck. So with all this feeling, all this, for lack of a better term, negativity, the amount of positives weighing the goods, don't let them make you forget them. Because they're the one things you're going to want to remember. And they're the one things she'd want to be remembered for. Right?
Can't forget. And she almost kind of chokes on a weak attempt at a laugh. She's the closest thing to a mother I'm ever going to have. How can I forget?
Yeah. That's what I wanted to hear. And she'd like that too.
Remembering just hurts. When you realize it's remembering.
It does. You gotta learn, and you will. You take it slow, step by step. Remembering hurts. I know this is ironic coming from me. But you're not gonna want to forget.
You cup 10 points face. Forgetting them means that their sacrifice is forgotten. Means that the memories that make you laugh, cry, and smile fades away. No matter how much it hurts you.
Won't forget. It just hurts to think of them as memories instead of thinking of them as will happen when I get home.
That's why I'll be there with you. And we'll go through it all together.
I'll have to move the shrines.
We'll figure that out tomorrow, 10 point. For now, we're going to go back home to the Bronx apartment and rest. You're going to get some sleep. And then we're going to figure out what to do with our lives tomorrow. You look over at Helena with a smile. Sometimes a rest I think is often the best plan.
Always.
Helena's going to help with the spirits. She'll make sure that everything's attended while we sort out some business tomorrow.
And while her eyes are admittedly bloodshot and her face is blotchy from crying, there's no mistaking the grateful expression is cast to Helena, considering that, of all things, Helena's probably one of the most reassuring people that could offer, and she's still a cub. It speaks volumes. But there's an earnest, open, just grateful expression because, to be fair, Helena's followed her and shouted her around for ages. By now, probably could do it all by road.
And she's met with a returning warm smile. That's what I do.
We do anything for family.
Anything?
Anything. You plant a very delicate kiss on the top of her forehead.
It has an almost immediate mellowing effect. It's not to say her eyes are clear, but at least the tears have stopped trickling again. She's rubbing at her cheeks again.
It's gonna be alright. It always is.
It'll never be the same.
No, we won't. But we'll make do with what we have. We still have everyone else. We still have you, me, Helena, Jason, Saoirse. We still have our people.
Oh shit, how much damage is everyone sitting on?
4.
You got healed,
No.
dude.
Oh yeah, no, I got healed. No, then I'm on 1.
Lol.
2.
10 points on 3. She doesn't seem to notice for what it's worth. It's kind of hard to tell where, or even if, well, no. I'm sure there's some telltale signs.
I mean, you can tell Helena. Mainly at the fact, if you've seen the film, I believe, there's something about Mary? Where her hair is sticked up with a certain substance. Imagine that, but with blood, essentially, for Helena.
Yeah, they're all a fucking mess.
Her hair is just wild at this point.
Now, I got one of the kin that's going to drive us back to the Bronx, okay? Because we're in no condition to go anywhere.
And she actually finally turns to glance back over her shoulder, back the way they came in. Feel bad leaving her alone.
She won't be alone.
I'm here.
And her eyes just well up again. She hated it when the house was empty.
She'll be there. She'll make sure everything's alright and nothing's disturbed. But we're not going to stay at home. Not tonight. Not when you're like this.
I just seems wrong to leave her here.
Helena and the kin will look after her, make sure everything's okay. And then we'll hold a proper ceremony for her in a few days.
And there's a numb bob of the head.
Now first, we need to get you home and get you to wash you, make sure you sleep. Then we can figure out what to do with our lives tomorrow. Because right now, none of us are no good to anyone in the state we're in.
I'm not. No.
Come on, let's take you home. He'll stand up very slowly and just heft 10-point into his arms again.
Is he actually hooking her up?
Yep. Oh, yeah. You wince a bit, you know. Just, he's still got a bit of wounds on him, but he wince slightly.
There's some vague sense of concern over the wincing. But when it comes to being scooped up off her feet, 10-point just accepts it as rote. Seems perfectly normal. There'll just be a hand on his chest briefly as he winces.
He'll look over to Helena. You're staying here, right?
Yeah, I'll stay here.
Anyone who comes without permission, ring me. I'll be awake.
Yeah, of course.
If Bites the Weak has issue with this, he knows where to find me.
He's not going to have an issue with it. I
If he
can handle
does,
myself.
if he does, tell him he can look for me.
He won't have an issue. I'll make sure of that.
It's not. We'll look to 10-point, ready to go home.
And there's just kind of a weak nod. Kind of rote compliance, really.
Just very gently, slowly turning, and unless Helena wants to say something to 10-point, we'll just start to walk off with 10-point in tow.
You get a chance to turn around. Helena will take something out the bag and place it on 10-point's stomach. As I assume she's being cradled. So yeah, both you can see what it is. What they are, even.
Oh?
It's just two of her guy's breasts.
He just smile softly.
Thank you. She gingerly plucks them up off of her belly. She's still got her bag probably hanging off one side. I'll have to make more.
We'll figure that out. We'll figure that out tomorrow, miss. Okay. Right now, you fall asleep. And you get some sleep now. I'll make sure you're tucked in.
Give it to me. I'll sort some things out.
And while Helena isn't in the link and can't feel it, again, just there's a grateful expression, but there's so much more oomph behind it through the link. She's, of course, leaking willy-nilly everywhere emotionally, but there's just such a grateful pulse through the link.
He'll just nuzzle her cheek. Reach over with his hand and just nuzzle Helena's cheek with his hand.
Go on, you two. Don't you have somewhere better to be than just hanging out with a cub?
But we're hanging with family.
I'll give you that one.
Come on, miss. Let's get you home. You turn again slowly and we'll carry 10 Point to the car and we'll have a kinfolk help him drive back to the Bronx apartment.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, 10 Point's expression does soften somewhat during the last bit of banter. She's still not happy, but there's some relief and there's some small fondness there at least that breaks through just the death grip that sorrow has taken on her fucking heart. But yeah, she'll be toted off without complaint, without so much as a twitch otherwise. And will get handed into the car and eventually driven home, probably just curled up in the back seat so she doesn't have to fuss with her antlers.
And as those two leave, Helena sitting guard within this area, so to say, sat still on the table in the empty room. She pulled off her guitar from behind her. And while watching that door, she'll just simply stop playing. Maybe passing the time, maybe doing something else. Who really knows? But the song doesn't fall in anybody's ears.
I dare say with that, we can say thank you, players, for playing, watchers for watching. And we'll see you next time on the Living World of Darkness. Sads across New York.